All right, so those are some of the revelations really that has gotten the country talking, and we now want to have that conversation with Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, who's the Migori woman representative. Thank you for your time. Karibu sana.
Thank you, and good morning, viewers.
Good morning. Good. So we want to, of course, begin by your reaction to this particular report. Are you, as a member of Parliament, satisfied with the contents of it and the investigations that were done?
Yeah, I think by and large, I would want to say that the committee have tried to do a good job. I think this was and is still something which is of great interest, not only to the parliamentarians, but everybody in the country. As you know, majority of Kenyans actually consume sugar, and it is important that everyone gets to understand really what happened and why did it happen and how do we then stop it and do the right thing. So I think so far so good. I know at some stage there was some controversy as to why the National Assembly was investigating the Senate. But I think given the magnitude of the whole thing, I think everyone was actually very curious and interested to know exactly what really went wrong in our country. So I can say the report is fair. I think I would want to accept it and congratulate the Joint Committee of Agriculture and Trade. They did vigorously and very candidly tried to question everybody who was concerned. I remember at one stage I joined the committee as a friend of the committee. I'm not, I'm neither a member of industry nor agriculture per se, but as an interested party, as you can see, Sony is prominently mentioned. And the whole of Migori County is actually almost a sugar belt region. And our people are actually suffering. Our concern as a county has been, how do we import sugar when our cane farmers are not getting anything from their canes being harvested and crushed, and they are not being paid? And these are all the issues that have been really bothering us as leaders from the region. So at some stage when they invited the CS Interior, Honorable Matiang'i, I joined the committee and I saw the keenness and the kind of questions members were asking. It showed real dedication really to fact find. And I think some of the facts that have come out really leaves a lot to be desired, and therefore it is important that somebody takes responsibility and tells Kenyans what exactly went wrong, or what is rather going wrong in our country. Because when this thing was highlighted following the crackdown from the CS Matiang'i's team, you saw the kind of reactions our leaders, you know, like the CS Trade was like, there's no such thing. And people were wondering, why has he come out so sharply like that before any investigations are done to establish the truth? And there was that push forth and back. And I want to thank the CS Interior. I think he has had to put his foot down and let Kenyans know the truth. When we are talking about issues of health, you know, there is no shop where people buy life. You lose it and you lose it once. Something like these heavy metals, mercury, lead, and the rest, are so dangerous that once it gets into your body, honestly speaking, I know no scientific method of getting it out of your body and the effects that it may cause. So much as it may not be in levels that can be immediately dangerous, but you see, in the long run, with the continuous consumption of the same, you expect that not might, but it would. It would. Listen, Shapia, there have been increase of serious weird diseases in Kenya. Like cancer has become almost like malaria. You know, all along in Kenya, I think we have been aware of malaria as the most common disease due to the weather, the mosquitoes and all that. But something like cancer, something like these blood diseases, leukemia and all these internal organs affected, the kidney, the liver, they are becoming so common. And I think more often, several times we have had doctors exclaim, especially over the print media, that this is in the increase, this is on the increase.
Yes,
and you check your lifestyle, what you are eating. So to tell us that there is sugar, which even little children, very little children are consuming, and they are consuming for the rest of their lives, honestly speaking, that is killing Kenyans.
All right.
Slowly but surely, which cannot be accepted.
Which is quite really unfortunate, Heshima. Talking about the people who have been, this committee has recommended 3 people, there's 3 CSs, two CSs and 1 former CS, to answer to questions and take responsibility for this. Do you think that that will happen? Because it's not the first time that we're seeing, cabinet secretaries or ministers, being blamed for something, but really does not end up to culpability.
Okay, this is what personally and all the Kenyans actually are waiting to see. Because when the MPs have highlighted and looked at the whole process and said so and so that these 3 people should be answerable and answer to questions. As we talk now, after the elections, we know what we went through. But at some stage, we have had what has turned to be a historic handshake between His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta and the President of the People, Raila Amolo Odinga. And one of the things that the two have really vowed, and especially President Uhuru Kenyatta, has said issues of fraud, corruption, any wrongdoing must be brought to a stop. And I think this is bordering on fraudulent activities in our offices, either some corrupt deals, there have been issues calling cartels, and you wonder, why do we call them cartels? When somebody talks of a cartel, I imagine that there are people that are known. So these people need to be brought to book. And so every Kenyan is waiting. When the president says we are out to fight and finish corruption, now this is the time. We want to see these people answer. Why? Because the CS, as it has been highlighted, the CS Treasury, how did this waiver come about? And why was the period extended? Why are we claiming that Kenyans are poor? And then, instead of encouraging local production, we are giving malicious people waiver to import even substandard goods or contraband goods, and with unhealthy accompaniments or traces in them. He has to explain, because this is constitutionally in his docket. The Ministry of Agriculture, the CS, agriculture, sugar has something to do with agriculture. It's from the cane processing, that is agriculture. Did he give us the correct position of how much sugar are we really lacking in Kenya? And in the first place, before we reach the lack, why are we lacking? When all our industries are actually stalling? What has been the money that has been always budgeted for and allocated for agriculture every year? Where has it been going? How come we have this lack? And once we got, where did the excess come from? Because like from there, that whole story, if you read the details, somebody suggests that the sugar that was actually imported would be enough to take care of Kenyans for the next 5 years. Did we really need to go that direction as we kill our own factories? Remember, in Kenya, we have sugarcane. In this country, we have a lot of sweet potatoes. I am aware that history has it, that in Australia, they actually produce sugar from potatoes. So instead of importing other people's, why don't we make use of our own production and the system and do things? So the Agriculture Department has a case to answer, and actually the person in charge should be that person to answer. Even if somebody else below them is the one who is responsible directly. But you see, the buck stops with the leader. We delegate with authority and of course with responsibility to follow. You don't just delegate things and then you are hands off. The case of the CS industry, I think it is similar. And even the idea of clearance and forwarding. I mean, it's a host of things, but these 3 stand out significantly as directly responsible.
Just talking about, Adan Mohammed, there are a group of, legislators who've already spoken to journalists saying that they're seeking to have this report amended to just expunge some of the harsh recommendations against, Adan Mohammed. What do you think about that?
I think, for me, I would want to leave that report the way it is. Because as further investigations, even as Adan himself comes to answer, if the judges or whoever will be investigating feel that they are seriously harsh, unfair, because I believe in our constitution which says each one of us has a right to be heard. The MPs have not really, the MPs have not judged Adan per se, but they have only reported what and recommended what they think should be done. But we are talking about the DCCI, DCI, we are talking DCIO, we are talking about the anti-ethics and all these bodies need to listen and investigate and further verify the truth or the untruth. And it is only then that we think the final decision should be made. But if we started padding and punching out things here and there, then by the end of the day, we might have another batch of MPs again saying now remove this, remove that, and by the end of the day we have no report.
Do you think that they should step out of office right now?
For real, they should. I think the only logical thing when an officer is implicated in a gross misconduct of that magnitude, then they should step aside to allow independent investigation. Because how do you investigate people when they are still continuing with the work as usual? So I think it is only prudent, even on their part, and for matters of self-respect and integrity, it would be in order that somebody steps aside to allow in proper investigation to be done.
There is a parallel, argument that maybe it's not the CSs who should have been mentioned. Really, they're not the people who deal directly, with some of these suppliers and some of these sugar barons, as they've been called. Do you think so? Do you think that it's possible for other things to happen without the knowledge of the CSs who are at the top of the different dockets?
Listen, my friend, I think sometimes so many things can happen minus the knowledge of somebody. But where is the idea? The industry, the Ministry of Industrialization and the rest licenses people to participate in this kind of activity. So it is important that they know who are the people we have authorized to do ABCD and to what extent. I said earlier, the answer to this, or the reason why they are being called upon, lies in the concept of accountability, transparency and responsibility. If I got to sit in a ministry like now, I'm a women's rep, Migori County. Yes, the county is big. Yes, there are so many people. But you see, if there are any issues that are surrounding things happening because of the mandate given to the office by the Constitution, then somebody expects me to know. And that's why I'm saying this thing is not just targeting individuals, but then the concept of responsibility. When you step into an office as a professional, somebody qualified, do you know everything that is within your mandate? Do you care to follow up when I delegate some duties to you? Do I care to get reports back and really authenticate and verify that what is happening is the right thing? For example, my friend, look at even the way some of our things are done. Look at our roads, for example. It is fair that we know there is a Ministry of Transport and Roads and whatever, and there is money allocated. But when they come and say, we have done good, I think, for heaven's sake, I wouldn't mind if President Uhuru Kenyatta woke up one morning and went there for himself to see what is the nature of the road that has been made here. Does it match the standard that have been told? Is it worth the amount that have been told is spent here? The time that is being taken? All these kind of things. This is what is called supervision. In management, I am a manager by profession, and I want to remind fellow managers, whether we are politicians or appointed through interviews, there is this concept that I claim to have been very misunderstood by Kenyans. Management by roaming around. What does it mean? In all those departments that are under your care, somehow you are supposed to know exactly what is going on, at least an idea, so that if my department A is doing something different from Department B. At some stage of my tenure, I'm supposed to be at least visit that department, work with them, get to learn, get to know what is it that is there. Yes. It's not a matter of waking up one morning and walking helter-skelter, lead the organization like a mad person, sucking people on the spot. Yeah. No, no, no. It is a matter of getting to know, having what the others would call having fingers on, hands on your duty.
All right.
So whether somebody else did these things, I think the ultimate authority rests with the executives of these said departments, and they ought to get accurate reports from whoever is in charge and reprimand. For example, we would have been relieved if, say, Treasury would have been the first whistleblower to say there's seem to be a loss of import tax from this number of companies, but they didn't do so. So why are we trusting that everything else is okay? It is important that when me as an officer then, I get something that has happened in my docket without my knowledge, I should be the first person to have reprimanded whoever did it. And we never saw that. And most of the time we don't see this in Kenya. Then by the end of the day, when an executive is brought to answer, they say, oh, it was not my responsibility. Then whose responsibility?
What is the responsibility? Because you're talking about that of President Uhuru Kenyatta. These are people, these are his cabinet secretaries who have been, who have serious allegations against them. What should he do, given his tough stance and talk on corruption and any other scandal that affects taxpayers' money?
I think, with all the due respect, he should be the first one even to ask them to step aside and have them investigated. Because, it is different from, he has nothing to fear. He has his relationship with them. He has him as President Uhuru Kenyatta as a person. He may have no issue with them. But now, the work or whatever has happened makes the public have an issue with them. So in the interest of the public and the people that put him also to power, it is important that he would he should act according to the expectation or what the law or what the natural law expects. That when somebody is negatively mentioned or adversely accused of some, or like the accusations that we have, then they should step aside. And that also will build his own integrity and that of the government and assure of his commitment really to correct the wrong that has been going on in Kenya, like he has told us. By him saying that this must stop, even the other day when he woke up and was saying something like, we are not going to start new projects anyhowly, and yet there are others which have not been completed. The idea here is that it makes me understand like he just realized that there is a lot of pilferages and wastages that occur. So it is important that he stands firm and let Kenyans and the entire world see him on that path of commitment to correct the wrongs that are not just now. They have been happening for some reason, because for a period of time, because like during this period of time we have been treated to a lot of issues, NYS and all over. Things are not just going right in our own governance system. Really out to correct it, then this is the time he needs to take the most bold step. Not because he hates these people, not because he has a grudge with them, but because there is something that has gone wrong that needs to be corrected. Thank you so much, Dr. for speaking to us. That was really brilliant. Dr. Pamela Odhiambo is a woman representatives. Thank you for your time. All right, so we want to take a short commercial break, but we're looking